Genesis chapter 3, verse 8. In the prior verse, we saw that Adam and Eve stitched together fig leaves to cover their nakedness and their shame once they realized the situation they were in. Now we're going to see how they respond to the presence of the Lord. Ke ekusen tein phonein kuriou tu theou, peripatuntas in to paradiso ta delenon, kai ekrubesan ha te Adam kai he gune autu, apa prasupu kuriou tu theou, and meso tu Zulu tu paradisu. It's a lengthy verse, but it's mostly straightforward, so let's dig in. The first verb here is ekusan, and you see the san ending, you see the lengthening of the alpha. This is from akuo, it's a third plural aorist active indicative. So they heard, Adam and Eve, that is. And what did they hear? Tained phonein, that is the voice or the sound, and it's of the Lord God, kuriou tu theou. Typically, we'll see it in this way in Greek with the article with the to here, but that doesn't sound quite idiomatic in English to say Lord the God, so we tend to rearrange it and say the Lord God. Now, that is a translation of Yahweh Elohim. We also see it later on in the verse. We've seen this many times. This is the standard way in which that form, or Adonai Elohim if you prefer, is rendered in Greek. So they hear the voice of the Lord God. Now, what's he doing? He's peripatuntas. This is from peripateo. You'll see the ant participle morpheme under the hood, but there's a epsilon contract there with the peripateo there, the epsilon, and it's a third declension ending. This is going to be a genitive singular masculine present active participle from to walk, and so it's the Lord who is walking, if you will, or while he is walking. And where's he walking? Into paradiso, in this garden that he's created. And then we have an interesting little phrase here, tat delenon. The Hebrew says la ruach hayom, which you could translate as something like the cool or in the windy part of the day. My guess is the Greek translator here of Genesis, though he tends to try to be fairly word for word, he's going to recognize that that's a kind of Semitic idiom or a Hebraic idiom that may not translate to his audience. And so he puts it as ta delenon, which is from delenos. That means in the evening. And so a fairly savvy choice there, particularly if he's trying to keep in mind the needs of his audience. So he's walking in the garden at the evening. Then and ekrubesan here. Ekrubesan. This is from krypto, and you'll see an epsilon on the front end. You see a san ending, and so you would be right to say this is a third plural aorist indicative. But the question is it active, middle, or passive? Well, there's an eta here. Under the hood is actually the theta eta ending, which you would know as the passive form. So morphologically, actually, this is a passive indicative. But with this verb and many others like it, the theta actually drops out, and you're just left with that remnant here, the asan. However, this would not be correctly translated, they were hidden, to make it passive, because with this verb, typically when it goes into the aorist, it adopts that sort of theoretical theta eta spelling, but it's really a middle in meaning, and so they hid themselves, actually, is probably what I would do with this. And who's doing it? Hate Adam kai he gune. The te plus the kai here is going to be something like, both Adam and his wife, he gune autu. That's probably how I would render that. And they are hiding a paprasapu from the face of the Lord God once again, which again is sadly ironic and tragic here. They should have this wonderful fellowship with their covenant God, Yahweh Elohim, or the Lord God, and his presence in this garden, almost temple-like. They should have fellowship with him, but because of their sin, they're now running from that. They're running from his face or his presence. Now, where do they go? They go in meso, that would be in the middle or in the midst of, something like that, to Zulu. It's kind of interesting. This is singular and it's tree, but they're not standing in the middle of a tree. I don't know what that would mean. This is just a nice, faithful translation of the underlying Hebrew eitz here, which is also singular. My guess is it's being used as kind of a collective singular. It's almost like a stand of trees or a cluster of trees. So in the middle of that, within the paradisu, the garden. And so they haven't left the garden yet, but they are running from the presence of their covenantal Lord God. It's a very sad scene here.